what do you think is the ideal duration for a comprehensive course on transforming workplace culture, leadership, or both?
Mm. What we did in the former company where I worked was very good, I think. So that might be a good example. Like when you started as a manager in that company, you would get a introduction to what the values in the company were, and that they're not just words that someone wrote on a wall. That's something you live and breathe and behave by. And you're educated in the set of behaviors that are expected of you to be able to live those values. And you do that very early on in your employment. Then you have a set of courses over the first year you work. So you will, I think the education is spread out over a year with group trainings and individual trainings, discussions and tests and a whole lot of things. And then after that first year, all personnel, not just managers, everyone in the company, every spring and every autumn needed to go to a refreshment course. Also, 2 times a year, every department in the company, no matter if it was the CEO and the top management, or if it was the cleaners, all the departments did something which is called a value dialogue. So they would rate their own behaviors and how well they were actually living up to the values, if they were behaving correctly. So they would kind of, say, we're good at this or we're bad at this. And then everyone in that group needed to agree on 2 things that they needed to be better at. And every individual needed to make a promise in regards to meet something that would lead to doing that thing that was bad better.
So like a concrete action?
A concrete action, yes, definitely very
Nice.
concrete. And it would be like you give it to your manager, and the manager would keep it, and then in your quarterly feedback sessions and so on. I mean, we're quite a discussing people and reflective people up here. We talk a lot. So every quarter we would have a small feedback talk, and I would ask them, how are you doing with your goals, and how are you doing with your promise, and what did you do to move forward to meet your goal. And then in autumn, everyone has to do this again. So you have the first one like in February, March, and you need to meet that goal before September in the autumn, because then in October you have to do another one. So I don't think that you can just say that we take a year or we take half a year and we work with culture. If you want an actual change, and I mean, you change your personnel over time, you need to do it so structurally, do it according to a structure over time that, can be manageable by the size of the company, of course, because it costs time if you have people that aren't getting any pay from their clients when they're in the room for an hour in spring and 1 in autumn. But for example, I was in that company for 8 years, and what we could see in our results was that the time we spent on that, we gained in lowering, for example, sick leave. Also lowering the rate of how often we lost people in the company, to our competitor. So it feels to me that you can't say, go do this for a week. I definitely can say if you want to change the culture in a company, you need a lot of time, and you need to do it by a structure, and you need to get everyone involved. If the CEO doesn't agree, it won't work. If the managers don't agree, it won't work. If the workforce is not on board, it won't work. You need to get everyone on the same page, and that takes time, especially as we talked about before, that people will take this information differently, and you need to work differently with different people. Excellent. And in regards of leadership, I think the answer would be the same. You need time. You can do some things like in a group setting and over a year maybe to hone in on some skills and understand those growth and grit and blah, 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 coaching and so on. But essentially, when you learn as a leader, is also in your own mistakes when leading a group and seeing what's effective and what's not. If you can have people who give you feedback on what you're doing and evolve from it.
Yeah, I love that. The thing that the one question I have, because I agree with you, there's no real such thing as learning. I'm 56 and I listen to about a book a week, and I don't do that to impress people or to brag. I've done that for years before I ever shared that particular thing. Anybody, I'm doing that for me because I'm acutely aware that I'm not yet finished. I've got a plan. I figure I'll finish learning about 3 seconds before I die, maybe at the moment. And then I hope to be able to teach beyond that, i.e. books and courses that remain, that I have something of value to give. But, you know, the best leaders that I've followed and read and learned from, whether I knew them personally or otherwise, none of them talk about, well, I'm done. I'm the ultimate leader. Now all I have to do is give it out to the unwashed masses. It's always about, I'm never done. What are you talking about, done? So I have one question that I wanted to put in, but I wanted to let you finish your statement. And that was, when you were talking about people self-identifying, I love the self-assessment, the self-awareness piece you talked about. Once those two pieces have been identified, is it then the group has to give consensus? Yes, that's true. We agree with you. So is there an external feedback that is people are self-assessing, but then people either verify or disconfirm? It's like, so that they've got an outside view?
No, the group themselves do it. So it's not exactly an outside view, but for example, if it was my department, when you do all this rating on your behaviors, you actually can't write in one single rating without having a consensus in the group. So if there's just one person who says, no, we're bad at that, the grade will be bad. Doesn't matter if the other 10 think it's good. And then when all those are filled in at the end, it's the same. You will vote and see how many of us agree that these are the worst ones that we actually need to do something about. And we will simply discuss and vote until everything is.
I'm sorry.
It's internally.
It's a team self-assessment of the group, not an individual self-assessment of the individuals on the team.
But of course, the individuals of the teams have to think about themselves. Okay, in the department, do we do this? Okay, do I do that? And yeah, so it's a little bit of both. But essentially, what you write down is some sort of team estimate. But then the promise they do in the end is, of course, very personal towards what they should change in that. Move forward.
Right. And it has that social accountability, because even if, you got the document that you create at the end, but also they have accountability. They're making promises in front of the rest of their team.
Yes.
They've made those promises. So that part too.
And also it makes it very easy for everyone to remind one if someone falls out of the frame. It will be more friendly in reminding that. It won't be someone yelling at you, yeah, you can't do that. We don't do that in our company. It will be more like, hey, do you remember that we agreed on? Could you please think about that the next time, because we talked about it will kind of also help a lot with interpersonal communication in the office.
Yeah, because you've got the group buy-in. You came up with the document together.
Yep.
You all agreed that's what needed to be done. It's pretty hard to say, no, I was just trying to explain the group. Yeah, exactly.
Peer pressure 101.
So, but and that's a big thing that shows up over and over again in the research that you were talking about. So the buy-in of all individuals from the leader down. But even that, if it's done right in when I think of training, is everybody should be part of, at least the research says, everybody should be part of building that. So if it's like, if we build it together, then, it's pretty hard to get resistance from somebody who says, well, I said we should do this, and now I don't know, it's working against me.
Precisely. And actually, all the values and all the behaviors were discussed within 600 people in different workshops. So the entire company came up with what are the behaviors and what are the values. So definitely there will be a mass of people who feel like they need to own what they all agree on.
Awesome. I love that. And I have little doubt as to what the output of that is. You know, people aren't perfect. They have bad days. They have things happen. But A, they have people all around them who know what the target is, the group target is, and and also support when you go like, I'm off the wagon. How could I do this, or what can we do? What can I do now to fix this? Because again, everybody
Precisely.
knows what was done. Love it. Okay, so the next one is what factor would influence your decision? So this relates to the question you just answered, right? So the duration, my understanding of your answers, for the most part, there isn't a duration. It's ongoing with specific frequency. So